two more?
A beautiful, chilly Monday morning in Minneapolis, St. Paul. It's Nordo in for PA, 9 to noon, 651 Carpets Plus Studios. For a Vikings game day, Max Fuller hanging out with me today. And let's just get right down to it. 5 p.m. pregame right here on the Fan, 7 p.m.-ish kickoff down at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. Joining us now, the actual host of 9 to noon, voice of the Vikings. PA, how you doing this morning, man?
Puka Nakua till you're satisfied.
Whatever it is.
Puka Nakua. Just get ready for Puka Nakua. And this resort, this hotel, whatever you want to call it, where they wedged us into with late notice, obviously, with the relocation. It's very, very nice, very beautiful, very picturesque. But it is strange being maybe 10 miles from Sun Devil Stadium, where the Arizona State team plays, but the Vikings also played at the end of the 2003 season. It's very strange seeing Josh McCown about 20 feet away from me, thinking, here it is, the season's on the line, two receivers left to right, McCown takes the snap. That's the first time that's ever happened, but we got a big one tonight, Puka.
Absolutely, we do. As a quick aside, then, to the task at hand, have you actually gone down that road with Josh McCown at all in terms of 03, of course, long career that spanned, I think his final season, he played up until 2020-ish. Have you ever gone long form with Josh on the side about that 03
game? A little
game?
bit. A little bit. He was a rookie from Sam Houston State at that time. And, he and the wide receiver, Nathan Poole, they actually became very close. And then that moment had something to do with it. So they each have kids that are 21 years of age. And they were born on the same day. So I think they just got together in Charlotte, North Carolina, or something like that, maybe during the Vikings bye, to celebrate birthdays. But when it comes to the deep diving of the story on, the final play of the 2003 season for the Vikings, I know where all the bones are buried, because the last couple of years at the Combine, I've run into Dave McGinnis, who's the analyst for the Titans radio network, and he was the coach of those Cardinals. So, from Bursich saying, that play cost me $30,000 in a playoff bonus, to McGinnis laughing and talking about Emmitt Smith's final game, to Josh McCown, I've talked that thing out a million times.
Well, I'm hoping what a way to celebrate. They got kids, you're doing the math on timing after that final game. What a way to celebrate if you're Nathan Poole and Mr. McCown. What's the gut feeling on the crowd mix tonight at State Farm? It was a mad dash to get tickets. I'm sure you've seen at least a few people bouncing around town in purple. But what's the vibe, if there are any conversations going on down there about what to anticipate the crowd looking like, and if there's a special purple hue in the mix this evening?
It's an excellent question. When I recorded the pregame that you'll hear tonight at about 7:12, 7:13 with O'Connell. He brought it up too. He didn't ask me the question, but, I think his intel from operations with the Vikings is that, there are a lot of Vikings fans that are going to come in for this game because, kind of in unique fashion, like with the Ford Field game, when the Wilfs bought those 1,900 tickets, for like $2 million and sold them for significantly less. You had fans very close to the bench, just to give it a little bit, as you would say, of a purple hue. Well, this is a different situation. This is a full stadium with, the Rams claiming over a 2-hour span when tickets were open to their season ticket holders, they claimed 35,000 were purchased. Okay. I don't have any reason to believe they're lying, but, we'll see if there are 35,000 Rams fans in that stadium tonight. Now, the infiltration of the Vikings fans is expected to take place today. There were, at this hotel, this is a big hotel, and it's in Scottsdale, but it's kind of a resort. So there are a lot of meetings and stuff like that from companies from all over the country that are taking place here. So you get a little lost. You just haven't seen a lot of purple and gold, but the intel is it's all going to be coming in today from San Diego, from Minnesota, from the upper Midwest. And I think it'll be a Vikings-dominated crowd when it's said and done.
I'm loving that. Fast forward to the game. How do we win this thing? I mean, where do we start? We spent most of last week, PA, breaking this thing down, and there are some things that I want to revisit into the actual game tonight. But just 10,000-foot view, what are we going to see if we're on top of this thing with McVay and the Rams?
Well, it's my opinion, which obviously doesn't make it right, but I think the Rams are better than when they beat the Vikings in Week 8. Now, if you take that at surface level or at first blush, okay, the Vikings lost 30-10, and now you're saying that the team that beat them is better, right? The question is, are the Vikings better in certain things when it comes to combating some things that were tedious that evening? And I believe they are. But the big key here, and you and I joked about it a little bit last week, talking about Puka Nacua, gets elevated or activated from injured reserve the day of the game, and it's like, he must have been running around Redondo Beach with ankle weights and playing catch with surfers and stuff like that because he was super sharp. The element of surprise not being there for them with Nacua and Kupp, I think that gives Flores and some members of the defense an opportunity to really hone in on what their tendencies are and what he believes and they believe they want to do. McVay's obviously super high end. There's a nugget that I'm going to drop tonight, man. It's not just McVay, but in the playoffs over the last 20 years, head coaches facing former disciples, former assistants on their staff, so McVay, O'Connell.
Yeah.
When they face them in the playoffs over the last 20 years, they're 11-2. So the chaff starts to become separated from the wheat in games like this. But I think credit goes to many people on many levels for where we are right now. And what I'm getting at is the head trainer, the guy who runs the sports performance, Tyler Williams. When we got here last night, we're waiting to get to the elevators and stuff like that, and I'm standing next to him, and then it just kind of dawned on me that really outside of Christian Darrisaw, I mean, you're in a playoff game, and you have 21 of the 22 guys that you would hope would be here at this moment. So that's just, when you sit back and you think about it, and if you can figure out what the origin is with strength and conditioning and performance and training and coaching and the whole thing, that really is fascinating. That 21 of the 22 preferred guys you have are playing this evening, and they're starting this evening. So I think that helps the Vikings a little bit.
I think it absolutely does. Now, in mentioning the idea that the Rams are probably not just better, but maybe even considerably better, if we're going to use that term, PA, I think Sam Darnold is considerably better overall than what we saw, and it's difficult. I don't know about you, but it has been a difficult week for me to separate Sam Darnold in totality with Sam Darnold in Detroit the other night. You know what I mean?
Well, for sure. I mean, and it's when I say that it's a prisoner of the moment society, that includes me and that includes you. It's just human nature to recognize and or amplify what you just saw or what you just experienced. And, as I got the game calling depth chart done on the flight out here and, was watching back some of that sneaky stuff, man. I mean, it was unbelievably out of nowhere.
Yeah.
His yards per attempt was 4, in case we had forgotten. And his completion percentage was 43. And, then you can argue there were 5 touchdowns missed. They feel really, really good here that they have a hold on what transpired and off the week of practice that they've had. What's going on, boss? Off the week of practice they've had, they feel that they have their hands on what the problem was last game. And I think, they're not going to, if they're not saying it, if they're not coming out and even on the side being like, well, actually this happened and this happened and this happened and Amik Robertson did this and Terry Arnold did this and all. They're not saying that, which means they know Sam freaked out. Okay. But he's not the first in the history of any level of high leverage business to jump into something for the first time that's hot and get burned. So this takes you and I especially, full circle right back to training camp or organized team activities when we were talking this out, man. And we would stress, we know what Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, Aaron Jones, O'Connell and that staff can do. The pressure's on Sam. and to reinvent himself with the assistance of those around him. Well, he did. All right. Well, then he fell off the cliff. So now the pressure's right back on him to re-identify himself against a very fast defense that has drafted incredibly well. I mean, it's, from Kobe Turner and a couple of guys, Kobe Turner and Byron Young last year. Then you got Fisk, you got Braden Fisk and Jared Verse this year. But, underneath the cover of darkness, they have a couple of rookie secondary guys. One named Jalen McCullough, who's like their version of, I want to say, Cam Bynum.
Okay.
Between Cam Bynum and Theo Jackson, he plays less than half the game. He has 4 interceptions. They have 2 rookies on the back end that have a combined 8 interceptions and 1 or 2 touchdowns. And then you get those pass rushers with 8.5 sacks. And then you get Turner and Young. Well, over 2 years, they have 35.5 sacks combined. I mean, they're doing a really good job with those drafts. However, it's a fast group. It's a spry group. It's a distracted group because of having to leave where they thought the game was going to be. And it's not the biggest thing in the world. So I'm curious to see what the approach is going to be this evening from a running game standpoint to set up the pass. Because outside of like Bobby Brown III or Michael Hoyt or Tyler Davis, those household names, those guys are very difficult to move. Outside of those guys, you can move these guys in the run game.
Yeah, and again, it goes back. That's the way we were talking into that first Rams game, and it was a bit disappointing ultimately in the end that we couldn't close on that. And this does again feel, you mentioned the one rookie, well, that other rookie safety, Cam Kitchens, or Kinchins maybe. He's absolutely fantastic, and he has 4 picks, rookie, like you were saying. Right? Yeah, he's a third-round rookie. I forget where he went to school, but he's a third-round rookie. And, I mean, they have 4 rookies with your guy. You love mentioning Omar Spates. I hope his name doesn't come up once tonight, but maybe he's a guy that we're watching via the run game. They got 4 rookies.
I had a good moment with somebody yesterday with my Omar Spates team. He's number 48, all right? And, I shared it on the radio a little bit, but on and off the radio with the con. And I'm like, wow, this 48 Omar Spates, he had 11 tackles in this game, 10 tackles in that game. But I think his first game, or when he played his most significant, was week 8. He's undrafted from LSU, okay?
Yeah.
And so they dusted him off in the Vikings game and started playing him a lot. Well, now he starts, and he pretty much plays the whole game. So basically the way it was put to me last night was, I'm like, wow, I don't know. I'm not looking at twists. I'm not looking at mugging the A gap. I'm not looking at the Tampa 2 drop. I'm just seeing a guy who's playing a lot and putting up some numbers. So I kind of brought that up in Rube-like fashion, and somebody looked at me and went, yeah, he plays a lot. Yeah, no doubt he plays a lot. That was it. I'm like, yes, well, that's the right answer.
Well, maybe that is the right answer, because if that's how they're putting that out there, that means, we got to get Aaron Jones at that spot, find number 48, and potentially mash on it. Now, with that said, setting up the pass, and I like the way that you put that as well, with Darius Williams.
How excited for this game are you right now? Holy cow, you're
kidding me?
Super excited, aren't you?
I'm an adult child. I can't wait for tonight. 5 p.m. pregame, 7 p.m. for the boom, and I'll be here. We're doing fan line, and we're going to celebrate. We're going to montage. We're going to be exhausted tomorrow, and we're going to be on to Philly. Can we get open against stuff?
If they lose, I'm not going to be on for about a week and a half.
Yeah. No, I understand that. I get it.
He lost feeling in both of his legs when I said that.
How's the knot in your back doing?
Awful. I'm like on 4 a leave, and I've been up 90 minutes.
Oh, thanks for the pillow. Can we get open against this secondary?
Yeah, they got open last time. But see, the game last time was strange because it was the short week bit for both teams. And, the short week, things generally are slow to go. If you look back at some of the first quarters and just the way games are, the game flow. Now the Vikings came out firing. The first 2 touchdowns, Josh Oliver, the shallow cross that Trent Sherfield Sr. ran, man, I watched that thing back about 4 times on the flight here. I'm not saying that he's untapped talent here, that he's got to get 10 targets a game, but man, did he sell that thing nicely. And O'Connell has so many sweet tricks up his sleeve. But then, it's the Vikings would score. Like, okay, let's see what happens here. Let's see what the Rams can do. Even though I knew every time the Vikings scored, the Rams scored a touchdown the very next drive.
Yeah.
So then you're watching Stafford get himself in weird spots, and he can't move. I had forgotten the play down inside the 10. I mean, where they basically had him killed. I mean, they had him maimed, Harrison Phillips and somebody else, and how he ducked under that thing and threw the touchdown to Cooper Kupp. Wow. That was amazing. But the receivers for the Vikings and Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, Sherfield, they're all in play tonight. The deeper I dive into this thing, it's fact that the Cardinals, the Rams, for whatever the reason, have allowed the fourth most yards to tight ends in the NFL, and also 7 touchdowns, which is kind of top 4, top 5-ish. All right. Well, a couple of weeks ago, what Trey McBride did to them for the Arizona Condors should be a felony in 48 states. They could not catch him. You got this Christian Roseboom, who's their leading tackler, 56. Well, he's their leading tackler, but he's chasing this McBride all over the field, and he can't keep up with him. And I think McBride went 123-1 in that game. And so, therefore, if you translate that to here and the way teams play Jefferson and have started to play Addison, it's Hawkinson was in a position to have a really big game last week. I'm not mad at TJ, even though, as I've said to you before, I just really wish he would make some circus catches every so often. But I envision a night that TJ Hawkinson has an opportunity to steal the show. And we should hope that comes to fruition with Johnny Munt too, and Josh Oliver, like I said, who scored on him before. Because they get a little lost with these tight ends because they put so much focus on so many things with all that speed. Because if you can get Hawkinson off early in this game, they're going to have to bring your Guy Kinchins. They're going to have to bring Cam Curl, who used to be with Washington. But see, that's how like Washington used to roll when they were bad. They let good players like that go. Curl's having a good year. And then their corners, they really dedicate a lot of attention to high-end receivers. The only way to pull them off is to do one of two things. Run it like Saquon, run it explosively, or throw to your tight ends. And I think with 2024 Vikings football, which one the head coach prefers.
Yeah, but all of these things that you're talking about, that if you're looking for Sam, whatever that bounce back would appear to come to fruition with tonight at Arizona against these Rams, the most you can do to make it as easy as possible for him is run the ball and get TJ going. And I'm not going to go down the road of impact or non-impact, but TJ is on the cusp of something. We've kind of been begging for it. Sam was overthrowing him all day in Detroit, and that's not TJ's fault. But if we want to make it easy on Sammy, running the ball and getting TJ going, I mean, those are 2 topics that the head coach has to be it's losing sleep over figuring out how to make that work tonight.
Well, he knows, and we talked about that last night before we taped the pregame, and I think we talked something about that a little bit in the pregame. You'll hear tonight, right in front of the game.
Yeah,
but the problem that Kevin O'Connell, really the atopic problem for him since we arrived in Scottsdale, Arizona, is I think he takes umbrage with the suggestion you made last week that if they lose, Brian Flores should be elevated to head coach, and they should move Kevin to associate head coach, and even behind Mike Pettin. So,
correct.
He and I talked that out a little bit. I explained the nature of the con, and as you would say, the adult child, and how excited you are. And he said, "It's all good, man. I love seeing Nordo every Tuesday."
A couple more for you here, and I'll let you get on to enjoy the day. You hit it earlier that coaches versus proteges. I think you threw that 11-2 number out there when it comes to playoff games. How badly, how much does that connection play into this one? How badly does O'Connell just want to smash McVay's team?
I'm really, really glad you asked me that question, because in the vein of, when like your announcer, your cartoon character, yours truly, has a big opinion, and then I voice it, and then it has crickets. Well, earlier, like when they came back from that 3-game road trip, and then their first home game, who was their first home game against Arizona or something like that?
I believe it was Arizona, yeah.
Yeah, all right. And I'm like, well, you come out of the tunnel at Soldier Field, all these road games, and they hate you, and they're dropping F-bombs on you, and it's inherently built in emotion to want to battle because you have people against you. And then you come back, and then the things don't go right early, and it's cold outside, and people can get a little quiet. You got to push through that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I could not get to a man, anybody to buy into that with me, maybe except you, Simply because we talk with each other so much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I kind of got one of those a little bit off your question, and I can't get anybody to buy into it. Okay, I mean, I guess human nature does not get to win, but I think I'm glad O'Connell had that game against McVay because the whole week was weird. The on the field was weird. All the coaches who knew each other from the Super Bowl year, hugging each other and before the game and kumbaya and sis boom ba and all. It was just weird. And it had to have been weird for Kevin. It just had to have, man. I mean, McVay's his number one mentor professionally. And those guys are super close and Sean and Kevin and his family and everything have gotten close. So I think it's big that Kevin got that behind him. Not Sean. Sean couldn't care less. Sean got the ring. Sean's the leader, man. I mean, he's won the division 4 times in 8 years. He knows his way around the football field. Kevin's still just starting out. So the fact that they got that behind them, I think is really cool for Kevin. I think he'll be looser up to the game tonight. And hopefully the whole situation's a little more looser than it was that Thursday night at SoFi.
Yeah, absolutely. Short week, kind of shocked by Puka.
So you think it's a dumb bit too, don't you?
No, that's the thing. I think it's a massive deal. And that's, and this is while simultaneously respecting the hell out of the coach and everybody involved with this. But
it's weird.
But to pretend that that's not a factor, to pretend that that's not an topic here. If I'm O'Connell, I love McVay, but when I talk to him in late February or March, I want to be talking about how I whooped his butt in a win or go home game. That's what I want to talk to him about.
Think about the nondescript sidekick Saturday we had a year and a half ago. Young Maxwell, as O'Connell rolls into McVay Khan's studio, and they start battling. I mean, the Tyro was so nervous when he cut loose with a hootie hoo, his voice cracked. So the next time they get together, it might be a little different. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And you're right. Get the game out of the way they did. It was an ugly Thursday. It's 2 months later now, 2.5 months later. Let's get this thing done. Thanks for joining me from AZ, man. Any time in the hot tub at this resort before kickoff?
I don't know. It's dry out here. I mean, the eczema might just jump up on me and make me scratching all the way through the game tonight. And obviously, and I know you'll get into this at some point today. By the way, I got some drive-bys for you. I went out there Saturday and did some pre-game drive-bys. We have Sir Poe, the All-Pro, and Byron Murphy Jr., who's from Scottsdale, and Saguaro High School, where he had 21 receiving touchdowns, and also was a stud DB before he went to Washington. Oh, by the way, Byron Murphy Jr., he played either against or with Christian Kirk and like 3 other people, like Bijan Robinson played down here around that time. So it's kind of a little bit of football hotbed. We also have the Gank. We also have All-Pro Andrew Van Ginkel with some drive-bys. And I don't know about you, man. I mean, obviously we want the Vikings to win. It's Philly. I mean, it's Philly's next. So, I didn't get a chance to see a lot of that game yesterday because the plane didn't have live TV on it. But I know Saquon went nuts, and I guess Saquon cost, a lot of people who like to bet, cost him a lot of money by like sliding down at the 41 on what would have been a 70-some-odd yard touchdown. Then I'm reading ProFootballTalk.com last night, and David Purdom from ESPN.com, had a little story that the most individual prop wagers on anybody all wild card weekend, not like Josh Allen over whatever yards, Puka Nacua, Justin. No, they were on a Saquon Barkley touchdown.
Anytime TD,
My man slides down to the 41 late in the game. When he's gone, everybody's going to get paid, and they all lost. But
what a confusing moment!
You'd be Philly, and I'd be just fine with that, wouldn't you?
Yeah. We'll have the boogeyman related conversation, and if I'm happy to have it this week because that means the Vikings won. But but from the game,
so you watched that whole game yesterday, right?
I did, and I got Cindy on for the border battle in about 20 minutes or so, and I do want to talk about that Packers defense came to play. They had a winning game yesterday,
really?
And it was man, Jordan just doesn't have it sometimes, and he didn't have it yesterday. 3 turnovers in the first half. They were absolutely screwed over by a fumble on the opening kickoff. I mean, they had me. I'm so out of my mind. I posted "Go Pack Go" on X yesterday. That's how out of my mind I was about getting a home game.
Is if I'm a Packers fan, a step was taken defensively. I understand what you're saying, but you can look at the totality of the season and sit back and go, you know what? at least we have our quarterback on a nice, equitable, fair deal. So we don't have to worry about that compromising the entire team. There's solace that can be taken for the green and gold.
Yeah.
Ow.
So, well, if we got to go to Philly, we go to Philly. But the A topic is just beating the Rams. And I think we can do that tonight. Have a great day, my friend.
No problem. And in closing, Puka Nakua.
Nakua till you're satisfied. Whatever it is. I'll see you later, my friend. That's PA opening 9 to noon down in AZ, ready for this thing. It's a 7 p.m. kickoff right here in Minnesota, but a 5 p.m. pregame where before the Rams and the Vikings, finale of the wild card weekend, the super wild card weekend, I believe, they will do battle down in Glendale, Arizona, State Farm Stadium, and we're looking forward to it. And because of that, because it is a game day, it's a football-heavy show as we lift off with the TimberTech set list, which is brought to you by, indeed, TimberTech and TimberTech.com. Max Fuller producing with me today. You heard from the host around 10 a.m. You will hear those player drive-bys that PA did on Saturday. You will hear from DePaula. You will hear from Murphy Jr. You will hear from Van Ginkel style. And then you will get the border battle, and there will be lamenting at 9:47. If you're a green and gold fan, Dave Sinykin will be joining. Nacho Lieber, Ben Lieber around 10:40. Back down to Arizona we go, and then right away, well, basically it's an hour from AZ. We'll get Lieber at 10:40. The analyst sits shotgun with PA on this call here tonight. Pete Bursich joins at 11, and then Alec Lewis of The Athletic. Not only is he down there to cover the game, he just came out with a terrific piece at The Athletic that we're going to talk briefly about as well. And again, it's Nordo in for PA. It's a game day. Your text, 64686, your talkbacks via the free iHeartRadio app. We'll be sprinkling them in throughout the morning as well. What's your vibe with this team into the game tonight? Let us know. And we also have, I believe, a cash contest to give away as well.
We do. The cash contest is back. The fan wants to give you a shot to put $1,000 in your hand with our national cash contest. Enter the keyword cash. Hey, that's easy. At KFAN.com now for your shot at winning. That's keyword cash. Enter it now at KFAN.com. Grand in Your Hand is back on KFAN. We have 9 chances for you to win $1,000 every weekday. That's every hour from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. To enter the keywords and learn more, head to KFAN.com.
That's Max Fuller. I'm Nordo in for PA. You actually just heard PA. He's down in Arizona. 5 p.m. pregame. It's game day. Vikings at the Rams, but actually in Arizona. And the Vikings, I believe they're still 2.5 favorites, 2.5 point favorites into this game, if you're so compelled to look at such things. And it'll be a 7 p.m.-ish kickoff right here on your home for Vikings football. The fan to the text machine, text and talkbacks throughout, always open to them. This one, how about a game plan that takes some pressure off of Darnold? Watching games this weekend, I was noting how these top teams are quite run-focused. Ravens, Eagles, even the Bills with Allen. And that was a prescient and timely text. I agree. That was part of the conversation with PA. The ability for this team, whose focus is to, of course, pass first. And it's more balanced than it was the last couple of years, but still very much a pass-first team. To get the run game going. Now, the numbers have kind of flattened out a little bit as I'm looking at it here, although they're still not good. When we faced the Rams on that Thursday, the short week after the Lions it was kind of the idea, well, this could be a sweet Aaron Jones game. This could be a sweet Aaron Jones game. They're giving up nearly 5 a carry on the ground. And so when you combine, and if you think back, despite that Lions loss, that this was a team, of course, we were still conversing about the idea that they score first, they score fast, they score early, and they're putting teams in awful spots because they have to chase. And so kind of the idea of beating McVay, taking the pressure off of Sam while getting Aaron Jones going. Okay, well, that was an absolutely disastrous effort on that Thursday night. Total of 64 yards on the ground. You do get touchdowns in your first 2 possessions, but from there on out, They were really chasing. And Kyron Williams, we've seen kind of the consistency of in these losses, whether it's Gibbs and the Lions, and even Kyron that first go around. He gets, I think he had to work to get there. He had like 25 carries in that game, but he did nearly eclipse 100 yards, 107 on the ground in total for the Rams. That is what I'm pushing for. So I'm into an idea of taking the pressure off of Sam. And again, you can get the emotions out of the mix. Man, that game was awful at Detroit. And just kind of take a deep breath and go, okay, but he was mostly good. Well, that Jacksonville thing was kind of awful too. Kind of actually, it reminded me of Jacksonville, except we weren't playing the Jaguars. We were playing an elite team with the division and the one seed on the line. I get that. But if you can just take a breath and just remember how good Darnold has been in totality, the best way still just to put him back in the right spots, whether it's footwork and it's decision-making, whatever they've done over the course of this week, we got to trust. If we believe the Rams are going to win, we got to trust that that's been fixed. And I'm hoping it has been. But taking some pressure off of him, whether it's the run game, and I saw this text too, TJ, as in TJ Hawkinson, is not a main part of this offense because he is not as good as you Rubes. Oh, doesn't feel good to be called a Rube. It's right. I like calling people Rubes.
Yeah.
I don't like to be called one. That's weird. That doesn't feel right.
It almost sounds like a slur the way that guy said
it. Yeah. We use the term Rube affectionately on the fan. Right. It's because we love the listener. When you say it like that, you make me feel like I'm a bad person.
I know.
And then, dude is mid, as in TJ Hawkinson.
Okay.
I have to be honest.
He's not wrong.
He's not making plays. He's not making plays. And so, similarly to writing off Sam in a one-out, and it was putrid. It was awful. Yeah. Use whatever, in some ways, whatever pejorative or negative adjective you want to put on Sam Darnold's Sunday in Detroit was terrible. It's valid. TJ, that's not TJ's fault that he was overthrown a handful of times.
Yeah.
But in totality, TJ's not a big enough part of this offense, and he isn't making plays. And so now, and then we can, what we can do is we can spend an hour, and maybe we'll do so on Fan Line tonight, because usually there's one overlying talker that overtakes all of Fan Line. It's inevitable, and it happens. Is it TJ as the player, or is it the game plan? The team has Justin Jefferson. They have Jordan Addison. Is it Sam's fault that TJ isn't racking up the stat sheets and doesn't have a touchdown since returning? Your texts and your talkback, 64686. Free iHeartRadio app. Hit the microphone. Give us up to your best 30 seconds. We can do that, I guess, but this is an opportunity for TJ. This is an opportunity for the tight ends in general. I think Josh Oliver has a chance to have a fantastic game. You're always good for a Johnny Munt catch and run as he leaks out of the backfield and he's get a little green behind him, 15, 17-yard catch. I believe we can get the tight ends involved tonight.
Corey, if StatMuse is correct, the Rams, the last two games, they gave up 97 yards to the Seahawks tight ends and then 146 to the Cardinals tight ends. Otherwise, outside of the rest of the year, they've been pretty good against the tight end, but those last two games could be a good sign for old TJ.
Okay. Well, I'm in on that. I'm also in on this text message. On the 11:30 a.m. flight to Phoenix, a lot of purple in the Delta Club. We're coming.
Let's go.
Today is the day, Vikings fans. I have several personal friends who are already in Arizona. And just hopefully they imbibed responsibly enough so they can get to the game.
Or don't get kicked out of the game.
Nah, they're old.
Yeah.
They know how to handle themselves. Yeah. When they've gotten to the point where they don't get angry, they don't get rowdy, they just go into power save mode. And they just stop talking
just
for a
shut
while.
Down, nonverbal mode, yeah.
The eyes are open. There's nothing going on.
No computing being done.
No, there is not. So expecting a terrific crowd at the stadium tonight wearing purple, and that's absolutely what we need. What we need to do now, we're going to pause, and then we're going to talk to Dave Sinykin, the border battle. The Green Bay Packers lost yesterday 22-10 in Philly, which now, if the Vikings win, because the Commanders eked one out last night, if the Vikings win tonight, they will head to face those very same Philadelphia Eagles. We'll get some in memoriam, some lamentations. We'll get some overall season at large views from Dave Sinykin when we return next. It's Nordo in for PA on the Fan.
sponsored by Jim Beam, the official bourbon of the Minnesota Wild. Are here all season long. Listen every Wednesday through March for your chance to win tickets.
Joining us now, weekly guest, one of the best, host of In the Zone, host of Packer Preview, Dave Sinykin at TC Head Cheese via X. You can also read his work via Zone Coverage, and maybe his next piece, sadly, for Green and Gold fans, might be about the 2024 season at large for the Green Bay Packers as they lost and are out of the playoffs. Their season ends 22-10, the final at Lincoln Financial yesterday. The Eagles beat the Pack. How you doing this morning, Dave?
Oh, it's just a wonderful Monday. Great to be with you, Nordo.
Yeah, and you know what? I just wanted to kick this off by apologizing because I feel like, I'm certainly not serious when I speak about karma or certain things, but it hurt me yesterday to actually post on X. Like, how dumb was I? I was rooting for you guys to win. I actually I put the words "Go Pack Go" out on social media. I felt dirty. It was an awful moment for me. And I'm wondering if all of these Vikings fans, quietly or loudly, rooting for your favorite team, maybe that led to a disaster at Lincoln Financial. Who knows? Do you believe in that kind of karma, Dave?
You can't rule it out. I certainly couldn't help. We didn't need it. What I take away is that you don't often see a dagger happen on the first play of the game, but
yeah,
that's kind of what we saw yesterday. One play in, I pretty much had all hope lost in that game. That was just it was kind of a microcosm of Green Bay season, It was just a lot of mistakes, unforced errors, stupid, undisciplined plays that cost your team on the defensive side, and really, big picture, Nordo, just a passing game that never really got out of its own way and just could never really get a rhythm all season. And that's going to be the biggest to-do project, I think, for Green Bay in the offseason, is figuring that out.
Yeah, and digging into it, obviously, season's over and all of that, as you mentioned, but I got to dig into that first play. You guys got screwed, Dave. That he clearly re-recovered the ball. I can't believe, and butterfly effect and how things can change. Ultimately, they do get that touchdown off of that turnover, in quotes. That was not a turnover. That was an awful call that they got the chance to review and still got it wrong. That you must have been losing your mind.
Yeah, I was really stunned because when they had that one shot from above, the overhead shot, that was the one that was just so clear that it was in his lap, and he was down, and you could even say, well, I mean, that was a clear helmet-to-helmet hit by Oren Burks too. Like, how do you not call that? The dude lost the ball because the guy smashed into his helmet. So, yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. I'm not going to blame the game on that, but, I mean, the one thing we had to work with was Philadelphia was one of the slowest starting teams in football. You had a chance to get the ball first and maybe jump on the board and put some doubt in Jalen Hurts' mind because he hadn't played in a few weeks. And, maybe that's just your one chance is to take advantage of a slow starting team, but you give them that gift to start the game. And Saquon runs for 12, and then Hurts has about 14 minutes to survey the field on his touchdown. And, I just, at that point, when that call didn't go away and Philly converted, I pretty much knew the game was lost, which is, you wait 8 months for football, you go through a whole season, you get into the playoffs, and when you have about 8 seconds of optimism, not a whole lot of fun.
No, it's not. And similarly, in some ways, it was closer for longer, but I did kind of feel the idea of kind of like my team at Detroit, where you were right there, you weren't completely out of it, but just the way things kept stacking against you, not being able to climb that hill. If I put it this way, and I did actually, that Jordan Love doesn't get it or he doesn't have it, Am I just firing cans from the upper deck as the nasty neighbor to the west of Green Bay? Am I overreacting to what I saw yesterday from Jordan?
I think you are, and I think a lot of Packer fans are too. I don't think he took a step forward in 2024. I think there are a lot of reasons for it. I saw enough from what I saw last year that no, he's got the talent and the ability to be a franchise quarterback and a team that can lead you to a Super Bowl. I think this year there's so many things you can throw into it. First off, obviously the injuries early threw him off his game. The fact that Watson and Dobbs couldn't stay on the field. He never had a full complement of receivers, and none of those receivers took a step forward this year. You could argue that every single one of them regressed. You've got a great running back in Josh Jacobs, which caused you to be more of a run-first offense. I don't think Matt LaFleur ever figured out how to marry the run game with the pass game. I don't think we saw enough play action out of Jordan Love. He's really good when he's in play action. Now, you're playing a really good defense yesterday. That's a tough defense to score on when you're full. You lose Elton Jenkins in the first quarter yesterday, and his backup was our first-round pick, who was already in street clothes. So now you're down to your third guard, who clearly was not ready for football and got replaced about a series later by another guy. So, no, I'm not ready to at all cast aspersions on Jordan Love. I think, I wrote this in my piece for Zone Coverage. Mike Holmgren famously always said that you know what you have in a quarterback after his third year as a starter. He's always believed that. Aaron Rodgers won a Super Bowl in his third year as a starter. I think next year is a huge year for Jordan Love, and I'm going to give him another year, and I'm going to give LaFleur, Gutekunst a chance to maybe find some reinforcements at receiver, and give him a better chance. So no, I don't think Jordan Love is the problem for this team. I don't think he had a great season. I think we expected more, but I'm not ready to kick that can down the road.
Well, you can't kick the defense down the road, Cinny. And we've talked about this before, my level of, just how impressed I've been with Edger and Cooper. You do get Quay Walker. That's where, I guess disappointment in the same vein that the Vikings defense held those kiddies close until it was either Van Ginkel pick 6 or it was ultimately going to be Gibbs with his third touchdown. The game was out of reach. I thought your defense kind of had a winning performance yesterday against those slow starting Eagles. Your defense is set to be damn good into 2025, and it was really good yesterday until it wasn't going to work. It wasn't your day, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it was 10-0 at half. It felt like it was 27-0, right?
Yep.
The offense was so abysmal, but the defense kept the team in it, and that was a defense that got back Quay Walker and Evan Williams, 2 key starters yesterday. They had missed the last few games. The Packers hit on 3 rookies in Cooper, Bullard, and Williams, who I think are all going to be core pieces of a defense that's improving. Now, they had to get better at cornerback, and they need a better edge rusher to complement Rashawn Gary. But, yeah, Hafley turned that unit into a top 10 defense in every analytical stat you could look at. It gives us a lot of hope that that's not the problem heading into 2025. And it's nice to see that. It's been so long since Packer fans have felt good about their defense. So, yeah, that's really encouraging. I think even though McManus missed a kick, I can't believe they won't bring him back. He was reliable.
Yeah.
It's all about just figuring out that passing offense and what they have at receiver. I feel like they've got one guy in Jaden Reed that they can count on in 2025. They got to rebuild that room. And obviously with Kraft and Musgrave, they feel pretty good at tight end. So I don't think they're far off. I just think so many mistakes, self-inflicted mistakes was the moral of the story, the story of the season. That's on the coaches. That's on the youngest team in the league to get a little older, a little smarter, a little bit better.
Is that your forever conversation, Dave, where as a Vikings fan, I feel like I could just talk about the offensive line year after year after year after year after year. And I've heard it from you and many Packers fans. It feels like wide receiver is forever that nut to be cracked in terms of whether it's via the draft or finding somebody. And you have all those talent. Just about 18 months ago, it's like, well, we don't really have a number one because we got all 4 super young, super talented. And now here, after what you saw yesterday and the season in totality, it's like, is that still an issue that needs to be addressed in the draft for Mr. Gutekunst?
Well, it has to be. I don't think you can look at free agency and expect them to open up the coffers for T. Higgins.
Right.
It is the first time this team's got a ton of cap space, in years and years. So, yeah, they have guys they want to re-sign, like their 2 tackles and all that, but they're going to have money to go out and find some help at receiver. And, yeah, like I say, Jaden Reed's the one guy that I know they can count on, I think. Even though he had some drop issues, you can see when he's healthy what a difference he can be.
Oh, yeah.
But he's not necessarily a number one yet, and Watson may miss the season. I don't know what Dobbs' future is with those concussions and the midseason funk that caused him to be suspended. I don't know what his future is. So, yeah, you look at the first round this past year, and Green Bay took an offensive lineman in Jordan Morgan who basically missed the whole season. About 5 receivers went right after Green Bay picked, including Ladd McConkey. And I look at what he has done to that Chargers offense as a rookie. maybe invest in a late first round pick at wide receiver once in a generation and see if you can hit on it. It's obviously no guarantee you're going to find the right guy. But if you believe you've got a quarterback and you're paying the guy like you do believe it, you got to set him up for success with more talent. So yeah, that to me is priority number one for this team, is to identify some proven wide receiver talent and take a couple early shots in the draft.
All right, if you can take last one or two for you here, Dave. Take your cheese head off for a moment.
All right.
And what are you thinking about with Rams Vikings tonight down in Arizona?
Man, it's such a tough call. I feel like the Vikings do not have the better quarterback, clearly, which is really important in a playoff game, especially when you're on the road. So I feel like it's all about Darnold's performance and how Kevin O'Connell sets him up for success, especially in the red zone, and not abandoning Aaron Jones. He could be a key piece in the postseason. I know you guys have been talking about it. You can't forget about Jones and Akers and running the football no matter what the score is. I do think it's a close game. I think the Vikings do pull it out. I do see a win for the Vikes, but, I mean, you got to have good Sam tonight. And I do think that defense is going to be the difference. I think Flores will scheme something up that makes a key play late, but I think it's in doubt until the very end of the game tonight.
Last thing for you then, to the hoops, to the hardwoods. See, we're going very in the zone style this morning. How annoyed were you by the loss to the Grizzlies? And there's no way that they lose to the Wiz tonight, right?
I didn't think they'd lose in Detroit last week either. No, they shouldn't lose to the Wiz tonight. Yeah, that's just one of those losses again where you just scratch your head and say, how do you, I mean, it comes down to, I think, late in games when you've got Julius Randle trying to run your offense, you got to have a point guard you can trust to settle your team down. And whether Conley's not the guy anymore, I don't know, but that's a big problem at the end of games. This team, whether it's Edwards, Randle, whoever it is, that just seems to put the ball on the ground and cost your team games at the end. That's one of those at the end of the year when we look at their place in the West, that you're going to go, man, that Memphis game in early January, you just can't lose games like that when it's in your back pocket. And when John Morant can't find the hoop for most of the night, you got to take advantage. So yeah, that was a real frustrating loss.
Speaking of frustrating losses, sorry that the Packers couldn't get it done in Philly.
I'm sure you are. Yeah.
Thanks for all you do, border battle style, 9 to noon, and Saturday mornings and Sunday mornings. Well, not Sunday mornings anymore, unless you fill in Sunday sermons, because there's no Packer preview. But you are the absolute best, sir, and I appreciate your time this morning.
Appreciate it, Nordo. Best of luck to your boys tonight. We're pulling for them.
Thanks, brother. That's Dave Sinykin in the border battle. And we do, tip the cap. Love Dave Sinykin, just can't stand his team. And I even went out on a limb yesterday. I shouldn't have done it. And I guess maybe this is the right time. I apologize to Dave. I'll apologize to all of you. I should never have posted that. That was awful. I could have strung together 18 super illicit vulgarities, and that maybe was more, I guess, would have been more respected or accepted than putting go and pack and go together in a sentence. I admit it makes me feel dirty. I'm a little bit of a lesser person this morning, but I'm trying to get back. You know what I mean?
I saw that. I saw it come across my timeline yesterday, and I thought it was one of those. I was almost spurred to action because I thought it was one of those tell us that you're in trouble without telling us you're in trouble type things. I was like, did Nordo really?
Yeah, blink just twice tweet? If you're breathing.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, does Nordo need help? Has he been hacked? What's going on here?
Yeah, I was not. I was not under duress. I had not been waterboarded or tied up. There was no firearm to head. It was just pure stupidity. And you're never too old to make mistakes, but certainly it's never too late to correct them, rectify them, and move forward. And I've learned from it. I will never do that again. Something that PA did throughout the season that turned into a terrific bit is after Vikings games, the drive-bys and just kind of walking through the locker room and getting perspective from players. After a lot more wins this year than losses, which also getting to share in that excitement was a big part of Mondays after Vikes games. He actually did it on Saturday, and he was able to catch up with a few members of the Purple. So when we return, we'll get into some more texts. I got some. There's an O-line talker that needs to be had at some point this morning, 9 to noon. There's an O-line performance that is needing to be had in Arizona tonight if the Vikings are going to be victorious over the Rams. But when we come back, some drive-bys, some texts, some talkbacks. I know Max has a bunch of Vikes bites in his back pocket. We got maybe some news. We could dig into that awful game against Memphis. Now, Anthony Edwards, he's just chilling. He's just a freaking passenger. And you heard it from Sinykin, where you have DiVincenzo, who's putting up nearly 30. He can't freaking miss from deep. Anthony doesn't take a shot for most of the fourth quarter, and then suddenly we're trying to get him to win the day. It was just awful, and you needed that one. And as we get farther down the road, we're going to be able to point to like 5 or 6 of these games where it's like, what are you doing in the fourth quarter with the game on the line? Randall is, it's not fixed yet, and it needs to be. But anyway, I digress. We'll get to some news later on, but of course, Ben Lieber from Arizona at 10:40, into Bursic at 11, Alec Lewis, 11:20. Vikings heavy because it's a game day, playoff game day. And we'll keep it here, right here on the Fan with some drive-bys next.
At Kroger, an annual Boost membership just got even better. Now you can choose from Disney Plus with ads, Hulu with ads, or ESPN Plus on us when you sign up. Plus, enjoy unlimited free delivery, double fuel points, exclusive offers, and free items. Sign up for a Boost membership today. It's an easier way to save, including new streaming options to relax with while we deliver your groceries. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Restrictions apply. See site for details.